Do you do disc tests with them, like personality tests?
No.
Okay.
I
Have
just
you
hire
done
'em.
one before, like the disc?
I've seen them. I use Podio now. I love Podio because I can do everything with Podio. If you don't make an offer that you're uncomfortable with, then it's probably not a deal. So sometimes they send it to me and then they're like, you sure they're gonna take it? I said, just go offer it. You never know if they're gonna take it.
Yeah, why not?
So you have to offer. And then they come back with a contract. And I'm like, I can't believe they accepted that.
Welcome back to the Investor Unite podcast, where we talk all things real estate, business, and entrepreneurship.
If you are looking to ignite your real estate investing, then join us on Investors Unite.
And on today's episode, we have a very special guest. Does a lot of wholesale deals, fix and flips, BRRRR strategy, you name it, he's doing it. So without further ado, we got Lee, owner of Lee Buys Houses. So let's give it up.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thanks for
Thank you.
having me.
Yeah, pleasure.
Thanks for coming on. So we want to first off start by diving into your story. So, how'd you get into real estate?
Yeah, so I appreciate you guys having me on. I know we've been going back and forth to try to finally get me on, and I seen you at the meetup.
Yeah.
And that was like a perfect opportunity to schedule. But I first jumped into real estate was back in 2018 when I bought my first house. And I remember going through the process of what it was to buy a house and then seeing in my agent's check of how much he made.
Yeah.
At that time, I was working for a contracting company for Comcast. Okay. So I was an installer doing Comcast cable. And,
It can be a little bit of a rough job, right? Like sometimes you're crawling into those houses, digging out holes for power lines, stuff like that.
Yeah, I was more so in and out of houses. I would climb the pole, things like that.
Okay.
And it was a great job. It gave me a lot of opportunity. I made great money doing it. But as you guys know, you get tired of, things on a repetitive basis.
Yeah.
And I've always had entrepreneur spirit, and I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. My aunt, she did real estate, and she still does it. She's a buy and hold investor. She got into Redden City, really early, where properties were $7,000. So I always looked up to that, and I've always had a business mindset. So I knew that, a 9-to-5 wasn't going to be for me long term. Mm-hmm. I made it work for what it was, and I was able to save up enough money, to be able to save up to buy my first property. I bought my first property, me and my wife, we saved up, and then we were able to get into our first home. Gotcha. We got into a conventional, put 3.5% down, and, we did some sweat equity on the house.
Yeah.
I think at the time we did, we paid market for it and, just put sweat equity in it.
Yeah. Okay. I was going to ask, you were 24 at the time when you're doing all this, right?
I think I was 25, yeah.
25, buying your first house? Was that scary for you?
It was very scary because I was we didn't know what to do. I think we actually started really looking into the process on YouTube.
Yeah.
I think everybody goes to YouTube.
It's the best way to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we seen that there were grants out and things like that to help you, get into your first home.
Okay.
And we wound up just reaching out to this janky lender, and he gave us, I think at the time, rates, depending on where you were at on credit, rates were around 3.5% to maybe 4%.
Okay.
Yeah.
This guy gave us 5 to 6%.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, he gave us 5 to 6%.
Dirty.
Exactly. But at that time, we didn't have an agent who was representing us to point us in the right direction.
Oh, okay.
So we wound up getting with an agent. He seen it, and then he was like, well, hey, I think your interest rate's a little high. Let me connect you with a local lender. Mm-hmm. So we wind up going that route. We, we did the hard pull or whatever the case may be, but we wound up just getting with the local lender who had access to the local grants and things like that, and then being able to, get us the best rate at that time. So I'm glad I did that because the interest rate, it dropped down to 4%.
There you go.
Yeah.
Saved a boatload of money.
Exactly. And then on top of that, what made it even more juicier is that there was no PMI, on that loan, and it was conventional.
Wait, yeah. How wasn't there if it was only 3% down?
Yeah, I don't know. They made it happen. Yeah, they made it happen.
Hey, whatever.
It was a conventional loan with no PMI,
Yeah.
4%. And I think in total, we bought the property for $8,000.
Wow.
So we got into the property, $8,000, including closing costs, everything. I think at the time we paid, 100, 125 for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So with 3.5% down, it was $8,000 in total.
Yeah.
Maybe a little
Sounds
over,
about right.
but it was about
Close to it.
within that range.
Yeah.
And we lived there for a couple of years, but from that time frame, I want to say maybe 6 months into it, that's when kind of my mindset changed, And I think it's also too because I'm like, you know, I was at that time, like prior to that, we were renting an apartment, and I think our rent at the time was maybe like $500-600.
Wow.
And then I went to $1,000 mortgage payment.
That's a big jump.
Exactly. It was an additional $500.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't like a super dramatic change, but I felt it.
Still, yeah.
You know, and then at the time, my wife, she was going through school full time, so I was the only income in the house.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly. Paid out because she's a nurse now. But
There you go.
you know, at that time, she was in school, you know, full time, and I was the only one in the house working. So all the responsibility was on me, and I'm like, well, I have to figure out something to make more money.
Yep.
I think at that time too, I was like a little depressed because I wasn't making the money that I wanted to make, and you know, I think that kind of like pushed me to kind of like figure out something. And
That's good.
you know, at that time, prior to that, like a couple of years, I tested to go into the electrical union, and I hated school. I didn't really like school. College was never going to be my thing. If I was going to do something, it was going to be something with my hands. And I tested to go into the local union, and I felt that, and then I failed again. Then I failed again. I think I tried it like 3 or 4 times before I'm like, you know what?
It's just not for me.
This is not for me. I can't get in.
Yeah.
I could do electric, but I
just can't pass.
the main test. I'm like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was kind of like my last straw. And then I remember getting the test results home, and my wife, she seen that I was defeated, and she's like, you can go retest. I'm like, I don't know if I want to retest because I felt like I was going to fail it again. And I probably could have passed it. I just needed to really apply myself, but I never really liked the school. So I'm like, this is a test that I don't want to have to take. I know it's going to get me what I need, but it's like one of those tests that I would really need to buckle down, and me working like 60, 80 hours a week, I'm sure I could do it. I don't want to make any excuses and say that I couldn't. Still, but I just like, let me maybe try something else.
Right.
And as mentioned, I came in the house, looked defeated. My wife, she looked at me. She's like, you could retest. And I said, well, you know, I don't know if I really want to retest. And she's like, well, what are you going to do? And I just looked up and I just said real estate. She was like, okay, cool. Do real estate. And then I swear, I lie to you not, I went on YouTube that same night, YouTube again. And then I think at this time, like Max Maxwell, he was around.
I love
he
Max
was like,
Maxwell.
Yeah, me too, man.
He was like one of the OGs for me.
Exactly. So I'm like watching Max Maxwell, and he's like breaking the whole blueprint down. Like he was the only one giving the sauce out for free. And I seen like what the method of like wholesaling was. And I said, okay, well, my test is in 6 months.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give myself 6 months to get my first deal done. So from that day, I'm just like podcast in the car, like cut all music out. Like my mindset literally had to change to be able to successfully do it.
That's good that you kind of put like a constraint on that. So you're like, you need to get it done by that time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think at that time it was around like winter, maybe like October or something like that. And I remember I got to it right away. It probably was like September, October. I remember it being cold out, and I put a time frame on me to be able to get my first deal done. And within that time frame, I'm just like in the car watching all his videos, and I'm like, this seems like extremely easy. But the confidence wasn't there, you know, like anything else. You know, you just gotta just take action and dive into it to make sure that you actually do it.
Right. Yeah.
So I lie to you not, we got our first deal in January. So I'm cold calling. I pull a list. I go on Facebook. I get a list, and I'm like cold calling. But at this time, I'm like, no systems in place. You know, when you're first like
just pen and paper at this point.
Pen and paper, exactly. No CRM. You know, I'm using Google Voice to call because you know they said don't ever give your real number out, especially if you're doing bandit signs and stuff. So, you know, within that time frame, I was able to lock in an appointment, and we locked the deal in. And when I say we, I had a guy from Philly. You know, I kind of brought him in. He was already kind of familiar with the, you know, like the wholesaling process. And I called, locked an appointment, and he was familiar with like contracts and things like that. So I brought him to the appointment to like help me out. And we got to the appointment. We agreed on a price, and we sent the contract with the guy. And at this time, I'm like overthinking everything because he's like, yeah, I got to have my attorney look at it. And this guy, he's a CPA. And I'm like, you know, I'm thinking that, you know, I'm watching this stuff on YouTube. I never really seen anybody actually do a deal, so I'm just kind of like moving blindly. I didn't have a mentor at the time or anything. I probably went to like one meetup prior to that, which like confirmed that it was a real thing. But at the same time, I'm kind of moving blindly and just trusting God that this is actually gonna work.
Right.
So we get to the appointment. We agree on a price. It was exactly where we needed to be at. He agreed, but he wanted to review the paperwork with his attorney. Long and behold, like I said, he was an accountant, so he understands some legalese. And next 2 days, he calls me. He's like, "Hey, I got the paperwork. When do you want to pick it up?" And I'm like,
"No way,
it's up." You know, it's like, it's up.
I'm on my way right now.
Yeah. So at that time, you know, like framework, we didn't really know how to talk to sellers. We were just kind of, you know, just
doing
talking, doing our best that we could do. And our process is like, we put a lockbox on every property, like it's non-negotiable. We need a spare key, unless obviously it's tenant occupied, or if it's, you know, the owner still living there, then at that point we don't need it. But this property was vacant. He didn't want to give us a key. He wanted to be present when all the buyers were there. It was a really good deal, you know, but he understood the language in the agreement. So I would like, you know, at that time I told him, I said, well, either us or one of our investors is going to buy it. And at that time, I think I was using the word partner.
Okay.
I had 15 partners on the porch.
Like, how many partners you got? You got more coming in.
Yeah, exactly. And I learned not to use that term so loosely, because in this business, like, you know, you guys are married, you know, so I use, you know, investors or whatever the case may be. So
buyers, something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, I'm super transparent today. You know, back then it was
scary.
It was very
like, I don't know if this is acceptable.
Exactly.
Like how I should phrase this.
Exactly. And, you know, at that time it was kind of like one of those things, like, you don't want to disclose how much you're making because now they're going to start pocket watching, but now today, like, we disclose everything. We, you know, it makes the deals go so much smoother.
Yeah.
So they know what to expect.
Exactly. But at that time, you know, it was like kind of like one of those things, like, I've got these partners, they work with me. So I had maybe 2 showings on this deal, and, you know, we were able to sell it like right away. I only made $5K, and I split it with him because he was helping me out throughout the process to make sure that it got closed.
Proof of concept.
Yeah. Exactly. I'm, you know, for me, 50% is better than 100% of nothing.
Right. Yeah, of course.
So he was able to help me navigate with the title company, and then also navigate with the seller and make sure everything, you know, was like flowing. Exactly.
Yeah. I feel like with your story, like a good note for the viewers, like if you're new, just make sure you partner with someone that's already done it, just so like you get that proof of concept. And then once you got the game plan, just run it and just keep, you know, cycling the process like you're doing now.
Exactly. Right. And like, I'm big on stuff like that. You know, if I don't understand something, then I'll go to somebody for some advice and I'll offer them a piece. Yeah. You know, obviously, same energy is reciprocated with me as well. You know, they offer me something, and then, you know, hey, you got to get paid too. Right. So, that was my first deal. We made $5,000 on it.
Congrats. So that's what, 2018, 2019?
2019, because it was like January.
Okay.
It was January. We
Freshly
got the first
2019.
deal. Yep.
Gotcha.
So I started the year off with a deal.
There you go.
Yeah.
And then from there, did you just continue to do more work yourself and like kind of scale, or did you start to hire out?
Yeah.
Move markets?
I started to do a lot of stuff just by myself at that point, because I was doing a lot of the marketing and things like that. Like, I understood how to generate the leads. Yeah. So, you know, understanding like what that process was, it wasn't that hard, but I needed that proof of concept. So I did bring him on a couple other appointments, but we just like eventually just like went off on our own way, and I just was like more focused on doing my own thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
I was still working a regular job, and my lead flow was like really bad. I probably was doing a deal maybe like once every like maybe quarter or maybe like 6 months.
Yeah.
For that year, I probably did maybe 3 deals.
Yeah.
But for me, it was a proof of concept, and then I just kept repeating that process.
Were you hand dialing, or you said you had a dialer?
I was hand dialing at first, and then I like found I'm a systems guy. So if I can find a way to make my process like extremely efficient, then that's what I'm gonna do.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was gonna say, like, how long from you getting that first deal? You said it was quarterly you started getting deals?
Yeah, it was like once a quarter.
Okay.
It probably had some like bigger gaps within that first year. I had some like big gaps because I had locked that deal up, and then once that closed, I'm like, all right, this works. I had locked another deal up.
Yeah.
I didn't sell that. That one wound up falling out, and then I had something else. I think at that time I was doing bandit sellings, and I had got a call. We sold that right away.
Nice.
But yeah.
From there, how long was it until you were able to finally quit your job
Yeah.
and go full time into real estate?
Yeah, so I think I quit my job in 2021, 2020.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like 2 years
Yeah.
roughly.
Like 2021, 2020. And I was trying to hold on to my job for as long as I can because my job was cool. I was in and out of people's houses. So it's like essentially door knocking.
Yeah,
for
building
free,
connections, right?
you know? So I was speaking to maybe 4 to 5 homeowners on a daily basis. I even thought about going back to my job just for that specific reason.
Yeah.
But, I said to myself, the money that I was making there, we could do one deal and it's just like it pays for my whole month. So
Right, exactly.
it's not best use of my time, but I actually liked the job because I was in and out of people's houses all day and I would carry my card and hey, if you ever want to sell this, yeah, it was kind of hard because I wasn't actually buying at the time. I was specifically wholesaling, but you had to train your mind that I don't have the money, but somebody else does.
Yeah.
And I could buy your house if I really get a good deal on this and,
So when did you have the mindset change of just strictly wholesaling to maybe I can fix and flip this or maybe I can hold on to this?
Yeah, I always wanted to buy.
Okay.
From day one.
That's from your aunt kind of like encouraged you?
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah, exactly. I always wanted to buy from day one. I never not wanted to buy. I just didn't really understand how to get the money or, I wasn't connected to the right people at the right time. When I really got those deals that we were talking earlier about that I regret selling, but I always wanted to buy from day one. That was just my mindset, but wholesaling was a way for me to, build up some cash flow. I'm sorry, like some cash to be able to actually go out there and buy. I wasn't too familiar on what the strategies were to buy. Now that I'm deep into the business, I understand and I have a different eyesight on how to actually take down these acquisitions.
Yeah. So you're just piling capital this whole time doing these wholesale deals?
Primarily, yeah. I'm like piling capital, reinvesting it back into the business, reinvesting it back into, mentorship, understanding really how to market, and then also like simultaneously building systems.
Right.
To make, from day one of wholesaling, I said I want to build a team and I want to pretty much like make it run like a machine, a well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
That was my goal from start A, from the moment that we get a contract to Z. If I want to be able to just like step away and it should run by itself.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what a business is, ideally,
They say if you're not able to take a vacation and not run, you're literally in a job. But if you're able to step away and it still runs, then you're a business owner.
Exactly. So, I do have that capability to kind of step away and my team is able to do it.
Yeah.
The only thing that we haven't really figured out, honestly, is the transaction coordinating. That was like the last thing that we kind of like, that's a missing piece that we have.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I mean, far as everything from acquisitions to lead management to cold calling to disposition, we have that portion figured out.
Now, I'm curious, like how many deals are you doing roughly a month now?
So it's funny you asked that. We are actually more focusing on inbound stuff now.
Yeah.
We still do like cold calling, but from the last time that we had met, I think we were roughly doing around like 3 to 4. We're still around that same volume.
No, that's solid.
Yeah, we're still around that same volume, but our deal spreads have increased.
Okay, and I'm curious, so like when you quit your job, how many deals were you seeking roughly?
Just one. I just wanted
Just one?
Oh,
So that's
no,
scary.
I'm sorry. When I quit my job,
Yeah.
I just was looking to make money to replace the money that I lost.
So you literally had nothing. You're just searching for that next wholesale deal then.
Yeah, I was like moving extremely blind, but
Yeah.
I didn't leave my job because I wanted to leave my job. When I left my job, and it's funny because this was like from God. I left my job because God made me leave my job.
Yeah.
I was doing cable, but I also was doing something called underground where we would like now bury the cable, and I was working with a guy.
Yeah.
Every now and again, I get like these back spasms. I don't know where they come from, but like it puts me out for like 2-3 days.
That sucks. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
You're still young too.
I know.
Yeah.
I get these back spasms, and it puts me out for like 2-3 days. So I'm working with this guy. I no longer am doing the cable. I'm strictly doing the underground because I had transferred from cable companies and I was doing more for less.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I wound up connecting with one of my guys I used to do cable with, and he's doing underground, and I started working with him. And simultaneously, I'm like even testing for my real estate license. I got my real estate license around the same time.
Okay.
And it's a funny story. I'll come back to that.
Yeah.
But
That's
I
okay.
got I was doing my real estate license around that time. And when I left the job, or I guess got fired, I don't know what it was, but I had the back spasm, and then I'm calling him to go back to work. I'm like, yo, I'm good. And he never picked up his phone for me. So I'm like out of a job at this point.
Right.
And it was nothing that I did. It just was no communication.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
it was like, I guess he just didn't want me back in the truck.
Yeah.
Right.
But simultaneously of that situation, I'm testing for my real estate license, and then God just also blessed me with 6 contracts from a package deal.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So it all worked out.
It all worked
yeah, all
out.
aligned.
So at that portion of that time, God's just like,
Yeah.
you go do your thing, you
Right.
know? And I'm getting deals at 30 a door at this time.
Yeah.
And I'm finding clients who are buying them. You know, I'm making, at this time, I didn't really know how to negotiate. I just know that put some money on top and keep it moving. I'm selling
Right.
paper,
Yeah.
you know? So
Yeah.
around that time, I got 6 contracts. I sold the full package. You know, I didn't know what to buy.
Yeah.
I just knew I need to make some money, but that helped me over to be able to kind of reinvest back into my marketing and then being able to continue doing deals.
Do you remember what your profit was on those 6?
I don't remember. It was very minimum because I gave them away almost for free.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, I probably made maybe $5,000 to $7,000 per property or
But
something
still,
like that.
that's solid.
Not bad.
Yeah. You give me a property in Reading for $30,000.
Yeah.
That's a 50 clip for me all
Right.
day.
Yeah.
Like I'm getting 50.
Yeah.
But yeah, easy. But as far as, you know, at that time, I didn't really, you know no better. And I just needed to make money, you know. 'Cause
Yeah.
I'm still the head of the household. So
Okay.
I had to do something.
Gotcha.
And, you know, I just moved them and then stuff just kept falling in line for me.
That's awesome.
All right. Well, I want to start by talking about how did you become so consistent with, getting your deal flow to where it's at now, 3 to 4 deals a month, whether that's like rentals, wholesales, all the combination of everything. Like, talk about like you growing your team and then adding the systems in place to help it sustain.
And then just to add on real quick,
Sure.
and then switching, not completely switching, but going from outbound more so for inbound,
Sure.
kind of understanding how you made that.
Yeah, that decision.
Yeah.
To kind of like touch on Stephanie's question. So originally, I was just obsessed.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was just like truly obsessed. I seen the money that I could make. I seen the potential that the business can have. And at that time, I'm focusing on strictly just, overseas, people from the Philippines and
Mhm.
hiring people to kind of like come into my business. I seen what Max Maxwell did. Like if you go on YouTube, you'll probably find a business of how he scaled his business up to 6 figures a month.
Yeah.
And it was all like primarily virtual.
Yeah. Yep.
He had a local office, but he gave you the blueprint of, what the business should look like,
Right.
what you should do. And I kind of mimicked that, but not in a way that he did it, but to my own liking. And,
Mhm.
I went through a few different CRMs. I think I've used REI Pro. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that.
No, we use Ari Simply.
RE Simply.
Yeah.
I heard about that. I use Podio now.
Okay.
Okay. We used to do Podio as well.
Yeah, some people don't like Podio. I love Podio because I can do everything with Podio.
Right.
I don't physically know how to go in there, but I know what I need my business to do, and I created Podio to do exactly what my business needs to do.
As long as it works for you, that's all that matters.
Exactly. And I think at that time I had probably about like maybe 8 or 9 platforms that I'm like playing with between like dollars. It wasn't all CRMs, but I went from CRM to CRM before I actually could find something that actually I like. Podio was like one of my first, and I didn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went through REI Pro, and then I started seeing that you get capped out on like the integrations that you can do.
Oh.
Then I went on Fiverr, and someone showed me. I actually built the Podio, and then the communication just was bad.
Okay.
And then the Podio didn't come out the way I needed to go, and I think I spent maybe like $2,500 to build it out.
Wow.
And I literally scrapped it.
Wow.
Got another one, And then that one is where I started building off of because I found a developer to help me build it to whatever I needed to do.
That's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. So my team, they literally stay in Podio all day unless they're using comps. But calls come in, text messages, everything is inside of Podio for us. But far as like Podio, like I understood what that process needed to look like, and I needed to build a team to be able to just insert them in certain positions so the system just runs, if that makes sense. What was your question again?
When you made your transition from outbound marketing more so to inbound.
Yeah, that was like primarily this year that I made that decision. Earlier this year, I don't know if you guys follow me, but I took down a sub-2 deal, and
that was your first, was it your first
Yeah, it was my first sub-2. But I took it down a first sub-2, but I also was doing cold calling for maybe like 2 or 3 years, and I had a team. The last time I spoke to you, last time I was at the speaking engagement, I think we had a total of maybe like 7 or 8 VAs in total. That was my team. We had maybe like 5 callers. We had 1 follow-up specialist, and then we had like 1 dispo assistant, but she kind of does everything I need her to do. Like Mary, shout out to Mary, because she's like our rock star on our team, along with my closer, Mario. You guys know Mario.
I think, he's at the meetup too.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
Yeah.
Like they're like fantastic, but we also have people on the front end as well. They're primarily getting leads over. I just trained one of my callers to start doing some property management stuff for us as well, so she's killing it. You know, so my team is very small, but we're still doing the same volume as if, you know, we had that bigger team. Exactly. So my burn rate was like super high. You know, what kind of like kicked it for me, it was like I need to start doing more inbound. We started focusing on SEO like Q4 of last year, and it started picking up for us. That's how I got that sub-2 deal. Like they called us on the website, and we were gonna originally novate that deal, but the numbers just kind of weren't working. And I locked it up sight unseen, first off. Like, we lock everything up sight unseen. Like, we never walk any of these properties. Sometimes we walk them, but everything is closed over the phone. Primarily, I want to say 85% of our inventory that we sell is locked up over the phone.
And then by the time you sell it, do you ever go see the property? Or sometimes you just sell it without ever seeing it?
Sometimes I never see them. Yeah, I've never, like, a good majority of the deals, I like rarely see them.
Yeah. Get under contract, sell the contract.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But as mentioned, I decided to go that route because I seen teams that were a lot smaller and they were doing volume. So like, I got a few sharks on my team, and I also was like looking at the stats, seeing the productivity of some of, you know, the callers and you know, some of the, like, we had a follow-up specialist. She was great, but there was like also productivity that just wasn't happening. Like, I'd go on smartphone and just kind of like listen. And I don't like being that person. I don't want to be.
You don't want to have to be over there.
Yeah, I don't want to micromanage. It's like, come on, I hired you, do your job.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that was like part of the issue is like, I didn't want to have to micromanage. And I felt like my team started getting a little toxic. So I just like removed the seeds that I thought were toxic, and I'm glad that I did it. That just was it.
What was like some of the discrepancies you saw within the team?
It was more so just like productivity, honestly.
So it was nothing like drama between themselves.
No,
it was just
we actually had, and I probably shouldn't have said bad seeds because I don't think they were bad seeds. I honestly think that it just was more so like a productivity rate. Things like they were kind of taking advantage a little bit. And I don't know if you guys can see the type of person I am. I'm like super laid back. I don't want to micromanage. I don't want to micromanage. It's just like, if I hire you and I'm paying you and I'm giving you that same energy, just do your job, you know? And I think that's why a lot of people don't like to hire their own cold callers, because they don't want to have to manage. But that was like portion of like why I decided to more so focus on inbound versus outbound, because I didn't want to have to manage a bunch of grown people that just weren't doing their job effectively.
Right. And then
go ahead.
I was going to say, besides SEO, have you done any other kind of inbound?
Yeah. So right now we're starting to do PPL.
Are you? Okay.
Before we dive into PPL, because this question kind of ties into the employees, the VAs.
Sure.
Do you do DIS tests with them, like personality tests?
No.
Okay. Have you done one before, like the disc?
I've seen them, but I talk to them, I don't talk to them disrespect. I talk to them straight up.
Yeah.
This is a job. I'm going to hire you for it. You're not going to play any games. If you do play games and you're not hitting quota, then it's kind of like, it doesn't make sense for us to be here,
Right.
And I'm not the type to just fire you, but I'm very direct.
Yeah.
It's like, this is what feeds my family, and this is what's going to feed your family, and you can make a lot of money doing this, but you have to show up and you have to be consistent.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's like, I'll give you a shot, but once you blow that shot, I might give you another shot. But after that second shot, it's like, we don't have to do this, because there's someone that wants your job that's actually going to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
So, there's only so much you can say and do. And like I said, I don't want to micromanage, and I don't want to be that guy who's like, do your job and making that workspace feel uncomfortable. Like my culture with my team's 100% virtual. My culture is great,
Okay.
They can come and talk to me, if something's on their chest, or if, something that they see within the business that they think that could be better. Like, I'm open to suggestions, So
yeah, for sure.
And I think that's why my team thrives the way they thrive, is because we have friendship. It's not just, I'm your boss, you're my employee, do your job. Like, no, we're going to do this. We're going to build a business together. We're going to have fun doing it. We're going to make money.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, this is how we feed our families. So let's do our job.
I feel like he's a D and a C, which basically means, like, I feel like you're an analytical person since you like systems, but also like dominant just because you're like direct, basically. Yeah. Like you said.
No, I agree. I'm very analytical. Like, I can look at things from a A to Z standpoint.
Yeah.
I love systems. Like, that's like, I like to see things work after you build them.
Right.
And then I'm very straightforward as well, I learned being straightforward from my wife. My wife's a Gemini. I don't know if you follow astrology. She's like, my wife, she's a nurse too, so she's super direct, know. So, but I had to grow that, especially being a leader, within my company, is just being very direct. We never got to the point where it's a curse and match or anything, but it's like, it is what it is. This is what it's going to be. And I try to be the best person that I could be for my team. Yep. And my team, they inspire me to be the best that I can be, because I know that they're relying on me, So that was one of my biggest things, just being super direct. But that was part of the reason why I decided to go more inbound, because I, also too, I have Investor Lift. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the platform.
Yeah.
But I spoke to one of the guys, and I remember getting ready to cancel the service. I'm like, our deal flow is just not there. I don't think it makes sense for us to have it. And he's like, well, you need to transfer, and you need to start doing like PPL. You need to start doing more inbound stuff versus like.
Because isn't it super pricey too? Investor Lift?
It definitely costs us some good money, depending on what tier that you get.
Yeah.
We have the Falcon, so it's like $12,000 a year.
Okay.
But it's cool because Investor Lift is pretty cool. If you haven't like seen what it does, you probably should like book a call with them. Even if you get the lower package, it'll probably be, it might be worth it for you guys. I don't know. You guys would have to see.
Purely dispositions.
Yeah,
that right?
Strictly but you can also buy stuff off of Investor Lift too. I don't know if you.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you. I mean, you don't have to subscribe in terms. You don't have to pay to find deals on there.
Yeah.
But
so if you're like a cash buyer, you can just go on there for free.
Exactly.
Check it out.
And then we found some stuff on there.
Have you bought stuff off there before?
I haven't bought, but I recently just JV'd a deal on there.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
And there's stuff in our market too. So
yeah.
Stuff that you probably wouldn't have seen. It's there. So I check it daily, like if it's a Craigslist or something.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to cut you off. Yeah.
No, you're good. You're good.
You're talking about you're saying something about Investor Lift.
Yeah.
And you're doing more inbound that way.
Well, when you.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, you're good.
I jumped on a call with one of the reps from Investor Lift, and they're such like they're like assassins. So when it comes to closing, like those guys are good. They do high ticket sales, so they're like good, but they also bring it down into a perspective where it makes some sense to keep it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's a joke.
Gotta study that.
Yeah, for sure. Anyways, he made sense out of it though. He's like, well, what are you doing? He started kind of asking me like what I wanted, like what am I doing for marketing? Mm-hmm. And they are actually truly there to help you. It's not like, I don't think they really care whether or not you on the platform or not. They do, but they don't.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they truly wanted to help. And he's like, well, maybe you should look into these different sources of PPL because you need faster conversion rates.
Right.
You know, with cold calling, you're looking at from like 6 to 9 months before they actually convert
Mm-hmm.
versus like PPL or, you know, PPC or SEO. Those are like a shorter window. You might be able to close those leads in 45 days.
Mm-hmm.
So we were 100% focusing on cold calling. So our cash conversion cycle on those were a lot longer, and it would take a year before those deals to call. I'm sorry, for those deals to close.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. We would get lucky every now and again, but we were doing so much follow-up on those deals.
Mm-hmm.
And we probably have about like 15,000 leads in our CRM, not including what's on the dialer. Like the dialer we pull maybe, you know, depending on what we pull a lot.
Yeah.
And they only get filtered in our CRM, but we need somebody back to like manage. But a lot of those, anytime you see our cold call and leads come in, like I said, we might get lucky, but a lot of those are follow-ups, and the follow-up, like 9 times out of 10, the follow-up time frame is 6 to 9 months calling back. And we have to put them in the system, and then we just like follow up.
Yeah.
But when they close, they close. Like they're good deals,
Right.
you know, but it's just not
takes time
for them to sell.
Yeah.
So that's why we decided to go more inbound, because we needed money now.
Mm-hmm.
So
You notice a way shorter time frame though when it's inbound versus outbound?
yeah, for sure.
Gotcha.
Like we,
Because I mean, those people are already motivated, right?
yeah,
So it's like,
they're reaching out to you.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like a no-brainer. Yeah, you do pay more for them, but
It's worth it.
Yeah, exactly, because they want to close now.
gotcha.
So you said SEO, PPL. So are you also doing Google ads and like Facebook ads too?
Yeah, we're doing PPC. We're doing SEO.
Mhm.
I actually we had to rebuild our site. We went from Carrot to building a WordPress site.
Okay.
So now our SEO is kind of like starting all over, but like maybe 3 to 6 months, we should be ranking again.
How comes you switched?
I actually have like a backing guy.
Mhm.
He kind of like controls that. I'm not the brains of that. Like,
Okay.
you know,
Yeah.
I just, hey, I need to rank.
Mm-hmm.
Get me to Google. If we're not ranking, then we got to make a decision. But I should
Right.
really learn, you know, and understand. But
I mean, if you got a guy who knows what he's doing.
yeah. But to be honest with you, I think the reason why we switched was more so because Carrot only allowed you to put certain content up versus like being able to write organic content. And I think a lot of people was kind of like circulating the same content. I'm
You
pretty
just
sure
wanna
that's
make
the
it
reason.
different.
You can tell if it's a Carrot website or not.
Exactly. So that was primarily the reason why we switched to WordPress, because I believe like we were able to do more with the site versus just what Carrot allowed us to do.
Gotcha.
So that was primarily the reason. It wasn't more so because it was a subscription,
Mhm.
but we started getting leads on Carrot.
Yeah.
And I was like depressed when he's like, yeah, we need to break this down and build it again. But
Yeah.
I said,
You gotta do what you
let's-
gotta do.
Yeah, let's do it. You know,
Yeah.
and he's been with me for years, so I trust him.
Okay.
I trust his decision on doing it. But
Gotcha.
like I
And he's
said-
a VA?
no, he's an independent contractor.
Oh,
Like,
independent.
yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, he does his own stuff. He's from
Gotcha.
Pakistan, and like he helps me out, and we've
Nice.
like worked out a deal to where he's doing my SEO for me.
Yeah.
That's
That's
awesome.
really cool.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, like, what's the pricing difference so far with you, like the outbound expenses versus the inbound marketing expenses?
So for inbound, we really just started doing more of the PPL. Like I literally funded an account yesterday,
Oh shoot!
but we got a deal today.
No way!
I swear.
One day?
Yeah, one day.
That's
Show
insane.
the DocuSign. But we literally got a deal today off of it. It's
Mhm.
innovation. We did a statewide campaign. We didn't do like by county. If you do it by county, it's gonna be like super expensive.
Right.
Oh.
But we literally got a deal today. I funded the account maybe like $500. I woke up with 5 leads. We closed one of them.
Wow.
Good shit.
Yeah, I thought so. I
Right?
thought so. I'm like, man, this is
Because
cool.
you're definitely gonna make more than $500 on the leads.
Exactly. Assuming that
It's
we
well
can
worth
close
it.
it. Yeah.
Right.
Obviously.
As long as it's not in Shamokin or.
Don't sleep on Shamokin. I don't really like Shamokin, but if you get them for cheap enough, somebody will buy
never
it.
know.
You know, somebody
Right.
will buy it.
Yeah.
Anytime somebody sends me deals from Shamokin, I'm like, I don't know. You know.
Oh, you want to look at it?
Right.
But if
I
it's
see them on
cheap enough-
Facebook Marketplace all the time.
Yeah.
Like,
And people be sending them to me for, you know, once I see it's past like that 20 mark, I'm like,
it's not even a deal.
can't do nothing with this.
Right.
Mhm.
I need it for 3,500, my man.
Yeah.
Nah, I'll be able to sell it for maybe 10, and then, you know, we can make a little bit of money. But Shamokin is a tough area for sure.
Definitely.
Now, I'm a systems person. Like I love the back end side of things as well. So like let's break it down. So a lead comes into your CRM, comes into Podio. Like so let's say they come in from a cold call,
Sure.
right? So it comes into Podio. What's the next step?
Yeah, so our sales process is depending on like where that lead is, then my team would either, touch bases with them and then set them for the appropriate follow-up, or if they're like ready to sell now, then we process them and then we make an offer. And then we have like different statuses in our Podio depending on, what their situation is, how soon they want to sell, things like that. And then we just follow that sales process.
Now, are you running the numbers, like, offer this, like, to your follow-up specialist?
Yes, for my closer.
Okay.
I'm doing underwriting, but my follow specialist, she knows how to underwrite. My closer knows how to underwrite. So if I'm just not available, they can make the offer for sure. Yeah.
So you're really hands off then.
If I need to be,
Just about.
Yeah.
Wholesaler.
I like it though.
Yeah.
I'm in it because I buy, so I like to see whatever comes in, and sometimes my team's like, "Yo, you're wilding," but I feel like if you don't make an offer that you're uncomfortable with, then it's probably not a deal. So sometimes they send it to me and then they're like, "You sure they're gonna take it?" I said, "Just go offer it. You never know if they're gonna take it."
Yeah, why not?
So you have to offer. And then they come back with a contract and they're like, "I can't believe they accepted that." It's not on every deal, of course, but
every now and then you get lucky.
Yeah, every now and again you get lucky. But when we did get those, they're like super happy. But
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So it is cool, man.
And now, like, I want to talk about some KPIs. Like, do you have specific ones that you're like, I got to hit my numbers with this? And in regards to, like, offers, do you guys have a certain amount of offers you have to shoot out per week?
Yeah, so we're still cold calling. Like I said, we probably like my VA who does the property management, she's like bouncing between like cold calling and also doing the property management. So she's like, her numbers aren't always there, but we have one that's just like designated and like calling. And I do that for the lead flow. I probably should maybe grab another like 2 or 3 callers because honestly, cold calling does work.
Yeah.
You just got to be consistent with it.
Yeah.
Right.
And you have to make sure that there's good lists. But for my cold callers, I'm looking for them to push at least 3 solid leads per day, which gives us 15 leads a week, which dials down to about 60 leads per month. Out of those 60 leads, we need at least 1 deal.
Okay.
That's
fair.
Definitely fair, So it's like for my cold callers, you need to push at least 1 deal over.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
For my lead follow-up, for my follow-up specialist, we do live transfers. That's another thing we do. So if my follow-up specialist, she finds someone who would qualify, we would do a live transfer to the closer. There's no hang-ups in between. As long as my closer or me is available, we'll pick up that call live and we'll process that. But my follow-up specialist is responsible for 1 deal per month and then 3 leads per day with a total talk time of like 3 hours. The talk time thing I got from Eric Klein.
Okay.
And it made sense. And this is the reason why I implemented it is because 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours talk time daily, you're having quality conversations.
Right. You're getting to the nitty gritty at that
Exactly.
point. Yeah.
And that's one thing. I'd rather you spend time with 1 lead than speak to 10 leads that aren't talking about anything. So your talk time needs to increase so we can have quality conversations so you can build that trust. They like you and they want to do business with us.
Yeah.
And the KPIs for my closer is anywhere between 1 to 2 deals per month with a projected profit of $20K per week.
Yeah. Awesome.
So, and his talk time, 2 to 3 hours a day as well.
Okay.
And that's like what we set in 3 offers a day.
Gotcha.
Now, I'm curious. We talked a lot about the wholesaling, but the last question in regards to wholesaling, unless you don't have anything else.
No, I'm all good.
Okay, so for a viewer watching this, let's say someone that's brand new getting into the business and then someone that's fully experienced and looking to scale, what advice would you give to them to get the ground running for a new one and then advice for an experienced person to just continuing to build?
Yeah, just take action. I think that's one of the biggest things. A lot of people get like analysis paralysis and they just like watch from the outside but don't dive in. Going to meetups are great, even for experienced or newbies. I would consider myself experienced, and going to that meetup the other night, it was a different type of meetup that I've never been to. There were actually people in there doing business.
Yeah.
Versus like, and I'm not downplaying, the other meetups, but this one was.
It was different.
It was different for
Yeah.
sure. Like these weren't people who were doing 1 or 2 deals a year or even 30 deals a year. These were people who were doing
hundreds.
Yeah,
or
crazy
$40
stuff.
million projects, and
Right.
for me that was like,
This is another level.
this is another level.
Yeah.
They have politicians in the room. I'm
I
like,
know.
what's going on here?
Yeah.
So that was cool to see. But I would definitely say just putting yourself around people who are doing what you want to do and doing more than what you're doing, because ultimately you're just going to grow to be the person that you want to be. But you have to take massive action. If you don't take massive action, you're just going to be stuck in that analysis paralysis state.
Gotcha.
Yeah, definitely. And then for someone that's experienced,
Same thing. You got to take massive action.
yeah.
Yeah. Just keep doing what you're doing. Everybody runs a different race. So, stay in your own lane and run your own race and set your goals. I think we get inspired, but also too, people, they put their eyes on other people's goals and what other people are doing. But, your life is different from Skylar's life and vice versa, so everybody has different goals, and I just say stick in your lane and keep doing what you're doing. And
like we could have a company that's doing the same thing. Like obviously you're wholesaling, we're wholesaling too.
Exactly.
But it's like our paths to get there where we need to be are completely different. Like it can vary so much.
Exactly. I mean, we have similar goals. Like our objective is to buy and build wealth and, be able to allow our business to take care of our families and our daily needs. But at the same time, just stick in your lane and do what you are, do what you do. There is no competition. As much wholesalers and much realtors, there is no competition. The only person that's competition is the person in the mirror.
That's so true.
And just keeping your team balanced and keeping them on that same mindset. So just, doing you.
Yeah.
Now, what are your thoughts on the new wholesaling laws for PA?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's really not a big deal. It's an adjustment.
Disclosing. Yeah.
Disclosing. We've been doing that also for the people who aren't, licensed. Now it's the time to get licensed and get legit.
Yeah, because you already have your license, so you're chilling.
Yeah. Some people on my team might need to get licensed, but outside of that, just get licensed. Get licensed and follow the rules and play their game. I think eventually we should probably try to figure out a way to, create some kind of way to where, we can fight back. But at the same time.
And we're working on that too. I should invite you. They're trying to do like a coalition.
Yeah.
To fight this against, because the realtors, the Association of Realtors is the ones that kind of took this on, and now it's like, all right, now we gotta make our mark.
Yeah, and like I said, even if we play by their rules, you just got to be creative.
There's a way around everything.
Exactly, it's just being creative. You can even do flat fee listings. I mean, I don't know if that's
possibility.
I don't know. Yeah.
I made 20
I haven't heard
grand
of it before.
Yeah, I think I made like 20 grand on a flat fee listing.
Really?
Yeah.
No shit.
So there's ways to still do it. You just got to make sure you disclose.
Right.
Yeah.
Most sellers don't care what you do with the property. They just want their money, and they don't care where it comes from. It's just being transparent. Most, yeah.
We ran into a couple recently where it's the complete opposite.
Yeah,
They're
but
like, well, why are you making this much money? Like, you should only make this much. We're like, but you're getting more than the price you even wanted.
Yeah.
It still turns into an issue sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, to me, to be honest with you, probably only had that like once or twice.
Yeah.
And it's because from the jump we're, hey, we're going to guarantee this price. Anything above that, that's how we're going to make our money. I mean, we pitched this more so on innovations, but, on far as the wholesaling, I mean, they really don't care. And we're like, either us or one of our partners are going to buy. And if that's the case, then we're going to make some money. But regardless, you're going to be guaranteed this. Are you comfortable with this process? And 9 times out of 10, we never have an issue. We've made a lot of money on HUD with no issue from sellers.
That's awesome.
Like I said, this deal was very recent, the one that I'm telling you guys about.
Yeah.
And I just told him, I was like, yo, bro, like we just told you, that we would be selling this to someone if this didn't work for us. And he signed the paperwork. Like he closed it.
Right.
But just reinforcing on that, and then standing on business is like, well, you signed an agreement, like
Yeah.
Yeah,
you
you can't back
understood what
out
this
now.
was, and I told you verbally, so it's why is this
Right.
fair if I'm making whatever and you're making what you agreed on?
Right.
Is it a money thing? Do we need to give you a little bit more? And that usually works. So
Mm-hmm.
just offer them a little bit more money if they're like going to blow the deal up at the table because you're making extra money.
Okay.
Don't give them all your money, but
Nah,
give them
nah.
something.
Something.
Yeah, give 'em something.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, what's your favorite like exit strategy?
Honestly, we're practicing all of them really, but I would say my favorite is Burr. Yeah, I love the Burr for sure. Yeah. Because not only do you get a nice check, but you also get to keep the property and get that cash flow. So
Yep.
definitely a Burr is my favorite.
Appreciation,
Sure.
tax write-offs. There's a
Yeah,
lot of benefits
it's like
come
so
with
much. Yeah, so much benefits to it.
Definitely.
So Burr's been like my far favorite. Wholesaling is great,
Yeah.
but you also get rid of the property, so you no longer have that cash flow.
Yeah. Is there one that sticks out to you that's like you completely regret getting rid of?
Oh yeah.
Which one?
So I got a call off of one of my bandit signs. I walk in the house. The guy's like, "Give me $5,000." Mind you, it's a semi-detached. If you're familiar with Reading on South 18th Street, there's like a park right across the street. Beautiful building.
Okay.
He's like, "Give me $5,000." At this time, like I don't think I had my first rental at that time. I owned my house, but I don't think I had my first rental. But this was a great opportunity to buy my first rental at a low price, and it would have burned really good.
Mm-hmm.
I have another one of these too, so I'm
Okay.
gonna tell you about that as well.
Yeah.
But I walk in the house. He's like, "Give me $5,000." I said, "Okay." He's like, "That easy?" I'm like, "Yeah." Let me walk in and see what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So I walk in and I see that the house is like it's good. All I need to do is like a quick clean up, maybe paint the walls, maybe throw some LVP on the floor, and call it a day. And I would have probably got $1,000 to maybe $1,200 to rent all day.
Right.
Yeah.
So what prevented me from buying it, there was this retainer wall, and it was kind of like on a hill. So I'm like thinking in my head, not knowing any better, but I'm thinking like the water's washed because it's like on a hill. I'm like, the water's washing the house down. And it was really the retaining wall that just needed to be rebuilt.
Oh, okay.
But the foundation of the house was good.
It was fine.
Yeah.
It was like solid, but the foundation wall like freaked me out. And this is
this thing's
around
gonna fall down. Let's sell it.
exactly. And this is around COVID.
Okay.
So you couldn't really like, at that time I was licensed, but you couldn't really, go out and practice real estate like when COVID first hit. And then you was able to go out like, I think a month after or whatever, they like figured out whatever they need to figure out.
Yeah.
And it got spooky because around that time, this was 2020 was COVID, right?
Yeah. That's when it started.
I had just left my job and I
Okay.
was like full time and I got into a mentorship. Anyways, long story short, I'm like, I need money, so I got to wholesale this. But I was also applying for business funding.
Okay.
So the credit card would have literally bought the house for me and I would have had
Right.
more than
Yeah.
enough to do what I needed to do. But also, too, being that I left my job and taxes were like due or whatever the case may be, I didn't think that I would get funded
Okay.
to be able to fund the deal.
Yeah.
Not knowing that there was DSCR loans out there and I could have went a different direction to refi the property without
Right.
showing any kind of like tax returns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I sold it. I made 20 grand on the deal. I made 25. I sold it for 30. So I
Okay.
made 25
Nice.
grand on the deal.
Yeah.
How much is it worth now?
I'm gonna tell you. So the guy, we sold him another one, and I was like, "Hey, like how, South 18th Street go?" He was like, "I don't even want to tell you, man." I was like, "What?" Like, "I don't want to tell you." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "I refied it, and it came back at 130.
130.
It
Damn.
came back at 130.
Jeez.
With the he went through and remodeled the entire thing though.
He remodeled it,
Okay.
and then he once he stabilized it, he burned it.
Yeah.
But once he stabilized it, he refinanced it. I thought it was only going to come back at 70.
Yeah.
That's why I sold it for what I sold it for. But
Came back at 130.
it came back at
So he made
130.
like an easy, close to 6 figures or over 6 figures. Something
Yeah.
like that. That's crazy.
That hurt. Every time I drive by, it still hurts.
Yeah.
You're looking at me like, damn, bro.
That sucks, bro. I'm just thinking, like,
Yeah.
you could have set yourself up right there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, it happens. I think it happens to the
Exactly.
best. You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
You know?
You
It's
fail
just the shit that
forward.
you learn.
Yeah. Now
throughout.
today, you put something in front of me for $5K in Reading, like it's no brainer. Like
here's the credit card.
yeah, no, here's the cash. We got cash today, but but all day I would have took that down. Today that was one that I regret, and then the other one that I regret during COVID, I sold a package deal. I think it was nine properties in total. Like for some reason, this package was floating on Facebook for months.
No shit.
It was floating on Facebook for months. 30 a door in Reading.
Wow.
And I'm talking 5 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms. Like I think the minimum that I had in a package, it was like 1 2-bedroom. But everything that's in that package is probably worth today maybe like 150.
Wow.
Oh wow.
I sold it to my guys, so I'm not mad. Like those are my guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have like some Polish clients and they just
no
buy
way.
like crazy.
Yeah.
And so I'm happy they got it.
Right.
But if I was in a position, I would have definitely took down the whole portfolio for sure. At that time, I was just looking to make money.
Right.
So
as of today, how many doors are you at?
I'm at 17.
17?
Okay.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I'm at 17.
Nice.
And like I was telling you guys, like my portfolio just stabled out. There was a lot of repairs, things like that, but it just like stabilized. So now I'm like back
Primarily
in the frenzy.
All multifamily or
No,
single family?
I got more singles than multis.
Yeah.
I have 2-3 units, and then the remaining are multis.
Awesome.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Well, what are your goals for, let's say, the rental side of things and the wholesaling side of things? And then any other, if you have personal goals, let's say in the next 5 years or so.
Yeah. For personal goals, it's just self-development.
Yep.
Keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
For wholesaling side, I like to really get that at least $100,000 a month, just on
That'd be really
rotation
good.
for sure.
What are you at currently? Can
We're
you say?
I can say. We're probably floating around like 30 to 50. It really depends. But like I said,
that ain't bad. Yeah.
we're transitioning into a different type of marketing. So
PPO,
once that adjusts, then we should definitely hit the goals that we're looking for.
Yeah.
Some months are better than others. It's just the nature of the business, but we're pretty consistent. The last time I talked to you, we were floating at 30 to 40.
Yep.
But that was with a bigger team.
Right.
So now that we have half of the team.
Lower expenses. But do you say
Exactly.
your expenses are up now with the inbound, or do you know what your expenses are roughly?
Yeah, so for what I primarily did was I just took the money that I was using for the cold calling and just transferred it into inbound.
Oh, okay.
So my
roughly the same.
expenses, they still float around like $7 to $8 grand a month.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I don't know where we're at. $3,000 maybe.
Yeah, 3 to 4.
Yeah. But we don't do as much volume as you're doing.
Yeah. You got to spend money to play. Yeah.
That's true.
And that's one of the things, like, you have to do that in order for you to be able to actually get that deal flow.
Right.
So if you're focusing on wholesaling, then you have to spend money.
And I was going to say, a lot of people, they'll go ahead and pitch it to you like, you can get into wholesaling for $0, which is true at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like, you can. But in order to actually make it a true business and be able to scale it to that amount, there's no way you can stay at that $0 overhead.
No,
Like,
no,
it's
for sure.
it's something you have to start throwing money back into to continue to grow.
100%. For us, I'm one of those type of guys where I like throw it at the wall. Hopefully that it like sticks. But I've been successful at it. But at the same time, as a business owner, you can't always do that. You have to actually have.
Yeah.
You have to have a vision, and the numbers have to number. So we've been focusing on actually allocating a budget towards PPC and also the PPL. We just started the PPL. And with Lit a Fire Under Me, I literally watched the podcast the other night, and dude's like, "Yeah, I make $15,000 a week off of doing PPL." I'm like, "Well, let me sign up."
Yeah.
Because I know we can close.
Yeah.
Especially we can close over the phone, so we don't even have to see it. So I know, give us the tools and give us the lead flow. We'll do it. We'll make it happen.
And you said 6 figures a month for wholesaling, and then what was it for rentals? And
for rentals, for me, honestly. Rentals, I originally had a goal of 30 doors before 30. I didn't hit that mark. And the reason why is because I slowed down, because I sped up in 2023. I spent a lot of money buying rentals. And that year kind of like set it up for me to where I have the cash flow that I have now. But at the same time, when I sped up, I was making not bad decisions, but I was buying stuff that needed a lot of work. So between 23 and 24, I spent a lot of money fixing those properties up because we were getting tenant calls left and right.
Yeah.
You know, and if it's not a burr and you're buying properties with tenants that are already there, you either have to evict and then rehab. And we just would do whatever needed to be done to the unit and then increase the rents.
Yeah.
So that was my 2024, is just stabilizing whatever I had and then making sure that my foundation was correct and then just keep buying. So right now, you know, we want to just keep buying, and you know, far as the income, I just want to I don't want to watch it. I just want to see it grow.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay. So now you got it all stabilized, kind of got out the headaches out the way.
Yeah, exactly.
And now just watch the cash roll in as you're still working on your wholesaling company, switching different kinds of marketing, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So right now, like I said, I just want to focus on making sure that my actual portfolio is stable and it's making money, you know. So
there you go.
And I'll still buy, but it's going to be a lot smarter. You might not like my number, but
that's all right.
It is what it is. You know, it's a number game. So if I don't get this one, you know, it is what it is. I don't buy just to buy. I buy to make money. So
there you go.
Well, awesome. Well, truly appreciate you coming on the podcast,
thank you, sir.
Lee.
Yeah. That was awesome.
We're going to make sure to leave all your information down below. So if you guys want to connect with Lee or if you have any questions for him, reach out to him. But with that being said, we'll catch you guys on the next one.
Peace.